Captain Alex Thompson sat in the cockpit of Flight 237, methodically going through the pre-flight checklist. It was a routine flight from New York to London, one he had flown countless times over his 20-year career. The hum of the aircraft, the familiar weight of the controls under his hands, it was all second nature to him. Yet today felt different. There was a nagging feeling in the back of his mind, something he couldn't quite place. As the plane taxied to the runway, Alex pushed the thought aside. He had a job to do. The takeoff was smooth, the Boeing 787 climbing effortlessly into the cloudless sky. Soon they were cruising at 35,000 feet, the autopilot engaged, and the cabin crew beginning their service. Alex leaned back in his seat, glancing at his co-pilot, Mike, who was reviewing the flight plan. "Everything looks good, Captain," Mike said, giving him a thumbs up. Alex nodded, but his unease lingered. He chalked it up to fatigue. After all, he'd been flying non-stop for weeks, and the strain of his personal life was starting to catch up with him. His divorce 5 years ago had left him estranged from his daughter, Emily, who had grown distant, resenting his absence during her childhood. He had chosen his career over family, and now he was paying the price. An hour into the flight, the first sign of trouble appeared. "Captain, there's a storm ahead that wasn't on the radar," Mike reported, his brow furrowing as he studied the weather display. Alex leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "How bad is it?" "Severe turbulence expected. We might need to divert." Before Alex could respond, the plane hit the storm. It was like being caught in a giant's fist, the aircraft shaking violently as it plunged into the unexpected turbulence. Passengers screamed, and Alex heard the sound of breaking glass from the cabin. Overhead bins popped open, spilling luggage into the aisles. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Flight 237 experiencing severe turbulence!" Mike shouted into the radio, but there was no response. The communication system was down. The plane lurched again, and Mike was thrown against the console, hitting his head. He slumped in his seat, unconscious, a trickle of blood running down his temple. Alex was alone. He gripped the controls tightly, his years of experience kicking in. "Come on, girl, stay with me," he muttered, fighting to keep the plane steady. But the damage was done. The left engine was failing, warning lights flashing red across the dashboard. They were losing altitude, and fast. That's when a flight attendant burst into the cockpit, her face pale. "Captain, there's a passenger having a panic attack. Her name is Emily Thompson." Alex's heart skipped a beat. "Emily? My daughter?" He hadn't known she was on the flight. They hadn't spoken in years, not since the divorce and his subsequent dedication to his career. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. His daughter was on board, and he was responsible for her life and the lives of 200 other passengers. "I need to focus," he told himself, pushing the emotions aside. But the knowledge that Emily was on board added a new layer of urgency. He had to get them through this. Over the next hour, Alex battled the storm, the failing engine, and his own fears. The plane shook violently, the turbulence unrelenting. He managed to stabilize it, but they were still in danger. Fuel was low, and they needed to land soon. He had two options: try to reach London, which was still hours away, or attempt an emergency landing at a smaller airport in Ireland, where visibility was poor due to the storm. After weighing the risks, Alex decided on the emergency landing. It was risky, but it was their best chance. As he prepared for the descent, he picked up the intercom. "This is your captain speaking. I know it's been a rough flight, but I need you all to stay calm. We're going to make an emergency landing. Please follow the crew's instructions." Then he added, his voice trembling slightly, "Emily, if you're listening, I want you to know that I'm sorry for everything. I'm going to get us through this." There was a pause, and then Emily's voice came through, shaky but clear. "Dad, I trust you. Just please be careful." The words hit Alex like a wave. He hadn't heard her call him Dad in years. With renewed determination, he gripped the controls, guiding the plane through the storm. Lightning flashed around them, the wind howling as the aircraft descended. The runway was barely visible, slick with rain, but Alex relied on his instincts, his hands steady despite the chaos. The landing was rough, the plane skidding on the wet runway, but Alex managed to bring it to a stop. The cockpit was silent for a moment, the only sound the pounding of his heart. Then the cheers of the passengers echoed through the cabin. As the passengers disembarked, Alex saw Emily waiting for him near the exit. She was pale, her eyes red from crying, but she was alive. They embraced, tears streaming down both their faces. "I thought I'd lost you," Alex said, his voice breaking. "You didn't," Emily replied, clinging to him. "And you won't, again." In that moment, Alex realized that while flying was his passion, family was his anchor. He had been given a second chance, and he vowed to never let his career come between them again. The storm had passed, but for Alex and Emily, a new journey was just beginning.